Welcome back, bringing you all the latest that's coming in from the ongoing BRICS summit in Kazan. We're bringing you breaking inputs. We're now learning that the Kazan declaration is being adopted. This is the big breaking input we are bringing to you. Remember, this declaration is going to be extremely interesting to watch out, because remember, it was on January 1st this year that the BRICS was expanded. How was it expanded? Well, you have new members including Egypt, Ethiopia, even UAE, and most importantly Iran, which were made members of the BRICS this year. And so after the expansion of the BRICS, we are having this summit, and now we're learning that the Kazan declaration has been adopted. It would be interesting to see what emerges out of the Kazan declaration. Remember, in the political backdrop of the ongoing wars, whether in Ukraine or the disturbances in West Asia, we will have to see what this Kazan declaration in fact offers, and how is this taking the overall outlook of the BRICS forward. Would be an interesting one to watch out for. But remember, it is this year that Russia is playing host to the BRICS summit, not to forget the fact that it is happening in Kazan, and a very strong message going over there to the West, which has been perhaps threatened by the dominance that the BRICS has brought to the table of not just South Asia, even West Asia. In fact, joining me with more inputs is Siddhant Mishra. Siddhant, what are you learning in terms of the Kazan declaration? How is this now going to take the BRICS agenda forward?
Well, Kazan declaration is very, very important because this is happening in Russia's presidency, and there were a lot of agenda which were put on table today when leaders sat for the two plenary session. One was the open plenary session, the other was the extended format plenary session, and each side had come up with the ideas, with the agendas, and in fact, for Russia it was very significant because President Putin has been cornered by the Western world. This was the platform which he got to perhaps project himself as the world leader, and also to prove to the Western world, to show the Western world that how his partners and friends are still with him. There are many agendas which we have been told could be the part of the Kazan declaration. One could be the progress made on the payment mechanism, which was perhaps in the pipeline. There could also be the alternate payment mechanism that we could get to here once the details of the Kazan declaration will come out. It would also be interesting to see that what would be how the paragraph on the Russia-Ukraine conflict has been framed in this declaration, and crisis on Middle East was also on the agenda. Also, supply chain is an issue which was discussed. Then the aspirations and the concerns of the countries from the global south, the funds that the banks have given, $35 billion, as Prime Minister Modi also reiterated the other day, that the banks have decided to give it to the countries from the global south for the development. So we could hear on that as well. Then climate is also one important issue which would be addressed in this Kazan declaration. So in a way, it is seen as the counterweight to G7. 40% of the world population represents 40% of the world population, 30% of the global economy, and also the kind of projection, Akanksha, that these leaders have been doing since yesterday. All three leaders, the way the BRICS Secretariat released those photographs are something perhaps which also establishes that BRICS 2024 revolved around three personalities, three world leaders: President Putin, Prime Minister Modi, and President Xi Jinping.
Very interesting to, in fact, note. Let's have a walk around the newsroom as we speak, Siddhant. Right. Let's also talk about the dominance of the dollar, which is also being challenged through this BRICS summit, because remember, it's also been highlighted how in fact, shortly before the summit took underway, President Putin had talked about how the United States uses the dollar for its political purposes, which he also sort of calculated and equated with a political vendetta, because every time they sanction a country, say China or even Russia, it becomes difficult for them to trade. Henceforth, to now challenge the dollar is becoming increasingly important for Asian countries.
Well, yes, de-dollarization is an idea which has been put in the pipeline. Now, there are other mechanism which these countries are working on right now. Now, in fact, ahead of the summit, when President Putin was asked about the one currency for the BRICS member countries, to which he said that it will take a time. The time is not right now. It will take some more time. But when it comes to the alternative to the SWIFT mechanism, SWIFT payment mechanism, that is perhaps the biggest issue that Russia is facing right now. Because even if India is buying oil from Russia, then at times payments are made in yuan, so that Russia can buy things imported from China. Then there are special accounts that have been opened in India for the payment. So the payment mechanism for Russia is not smooth. So BRICS want an alternative payment mechanism, so that even if Western would sanction not just Russia, any other country tomorrow, then they should have the other mechanism for the payment, and their trade can happen smoothly. Now with Russia, the Iran is the other country which is a member now, is heavily sanctioned by the West. So that is the main issue that that Russia has perhaps brought to the table. So that could be that must be the part of the Kazan
Many
declaration.
thanks to you, Siddhant, for bringing in those inputs.